Blue Forge, a Blue Forge timeline. All right, so you guys may think, why is this important? What I try to do is, and this is not on the test, so you don't have to worry. What you guys will see is, at the end of this course, there is a 10-page, 50-question test. And you can either, you guys here today can either take that home with you, or you can do it live right here. And we'll get to that in the section Becoming Certified. But this stuff is not on the test. The reason that I try when I have a captured audience is to give this information is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. I think this primarily comes from the fact that though I grew up in Seattle, when it was time for me to buy a house and have kiddos, I moved out here and really kind of divorced myself from the Seattle creative scene. I had grown up as an author and was publishing first with a small local Seattle press, and then with their blessing, started publishing with a very large New York press. So I was kind of removed from the Pacific Northwest scene for quite some time. And the film community in 2011, which is when I was finally getting into film, wasn't the film community that we see in Seattle now. You know, now we have a lot of the franchises, the film festival franchises are there, and you know, we have things like SIF and you know, things like this. So I didn't really see a robust and driving reason to stay in the Seattle scene. So I think that that is important for people to know where Blue Forge came from. So Blue Forge Group is the parent company that owns Blue Forge Films, Blue Forge Gaming, Blue Forge Press, and Blue Forge Records. And those 4 divisions all fall under Blue Forge Group, which is a federal nonprofit. Now, we are not a federal nonprofit like Goodwill is a federal nonprofit. We're what I like to say as a child of the 70s is an actual nonprofit, which means I don't get paid at all. Brianne doesn't get paid at all, and we are the only 2 full-time staff. Our children, Faith, who's 16, Maxwell, who's 18, both work part-time here. They're in school, the other part-time. Neither of them are paid. All the work that we do for Blue Forge Group and any of the divisions is unpaid, period. So to me, that is an important designation. I understand that as a federal nonprofit, we would be allowed to take a salary, but I am not comfortable with that. We have a board of directors, and that board of directors actually rotates every 2 years. So there we go. So Blue Forge Press, that handles comics and novels and graphic novels, was actually founded in 1989 and has been functioning continuously since then. Blue Forge Gaming, which does role-playing games, board games, card games, and it has expanded into video games, has been functioning since 1989. Not with video games in 89, mind you, but it was founded in 89. Blue Forge Records, which is music, both CDs and digital streaming, you know, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, was founded in 2011. And Blue Forge Films, which does film, web series, television, all the visual medium, was founded in 2011. Blue Forge Films is a working studio. So that means we do not live Kickstarter to Kickstarter. Everybody knows what Kickstarter is by this point. I remember the first time I mentioned it, not everyone knew. So Kickstarter is crowdfunding. We don't believe that crowdfunding is, actually Lee, you and I have talked about this recently. It's not that we don't approve of, everyone has their own way of doing things, but we don't use crowdfunding. And the reason we don't use crowdfunding is that we see the same people over and over again, the same community of people basically asking for each other's money. And eventually everybody runs out of money. You know, you give $5 to Christopher, and then Christopher gives $5 to Bill, and then Bill gives $5 to Denise, and if Denise is smart, she just runs with it. But you know, that's fine, Denise, you don't have to. I'm just saying, if I were Denise, I would just be like, coffee. Also, but I will say that when we first launched, remember when I was first writing in traditional formatted scripts, because I didn't start writing modular method, and we were doing Ghost Sniffers Inc., we ran 2 incredibly successful Kickstarters. And was it a full-time job to run those Kickstarters? Yes, if you do them right, they're absolutely a full-time job, and you will not get anything else done. Because I take marketing very seriously, and I always say with any project that's done right, whatever amount of time you put into writing that project, then add to it how much time you spent filming that project. Now triple it, and that's what you should be doing in marketing. Studios just like to forget about something once it's made and edited and out there. So when I say we're a working studio, what I mean by that is we have an end game, and we go into this to be running in the black, not running in the red. So this project that we do at this point should be paying for this project. And that project should be paying for this project. And how are we paying? Well, first of all, we do micro budget, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's not low budget, it's micro budget. And I go in and I'm very honest. If I'm writing, directing, and running camera, the first thing I'm going to say to folks is, okay, I get paid nothing here. Nothing. I get paid when this is finally released, we have a premiere, we sell tickets, the venue gets paid first. But then there's a pool of revenue. Then after that, there's the commercial DVD, and we have long-standing relationships with. So there's a commercial DVD, and it's going to stream on. That creates revenue, and I get part of that pool. If you want to come and do this with me, we can negotiate, and you can get part of that pool. Not until you earn $5,000 or $1,000 or $100, but indefinitely, monthly, and forever and ever, which is what indefinitely means. So I just said it twice. But so it's no cap, which is important because you guys have probably. Many of you have probably seen contracts where they say, you're going to make up until this and then you're paid off. And I'm like, no, you help create an incredible work, you get part of the back end pool forever. I always want to be paid back end because I put in the work, I make it as high quality as I want, I feel like I deserve a portion of the gross revenue. So that is not for everyone. Other people are like, I want a producer to write me a big check. I will then pay them back plus this amount of interest, and then after that I get the money and everything is good. No, I want the money right away. And I'm willing to, it's an enormous amount of hours to do for free, but you build a body of work and slowly you create your own legal pyramid scheme, right? Because you're building on your own work. So that's what I mean by a working studio. So when I hear about folks in the Pacific Northwest talking about how they have their own film studio, I always say, where's your IMDb? What have you done? I don't see anything happening here, so shut your beak and don't give me any advice. So revenue sources are going to be when people rent one of my finished projects, when they buy the DVD, if there's merchandise tied into a project, which we often do, if there's a graphic novel, if there's a card game, if there's a t-shirt or a poster, that's where my revenue streams come from. Annual revenue, what do I make in a year? From my film projects, our household, so that's the four of us, only makes $12,000. Now, that's not my personal income because, like most of the folks in this room, I'm like a multi-hyphenate, right? So I also am an author and I have my personal royalties. I usually don't get into my personal because you guys are interested in filmmaking. What does it make? So I've been doing this for 6 years now. I know that $12,000 is not really enough to live on. I get that. And I especially know for those of you guys who came over from Seattle or something, that's not even going to cover probably your monthly rent. I live in Kitsap County. I'm very lucky. We've had folks here who literally their rent in Seattle is twice what my mortgage is here, with 3,000 square feet and more than an acre. So I get that. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone. I just don't want to lie. I know that some of the folks in this room are already signed with me as creative partners, which means you've pitched a series to me and I've been like, heck yes, come and make this with us. And others are folks that are either doing this just because they want to be able to participate in our film anthology events. Our film anthology events, folks that are already certified you pay a flat 25, you come in, we have a body of actors, you pick for the actors, you write for the actors. There's usually like a set location, everyone writes pieces in the location, or there's like a set prop that everyone gets to use. We'll run camera for you, we edit, we score, and then they go up on commercial TV and everybody shares. All the writers split the revenue forever. So it's actually kind of a, you know, so your budget going in is only 25, and you get the film made, and then you get revenue share. So that's one of the ways that we've been trying to basically help our partners build resumes. So there's that. So I know that some folks are here for that. Some folks are here because they want to pitch a series. Some folks are here because they're already partners and want to become certified. And then there's you, Silver.
It's like outside the window.
Please don't use a credit card. I understand. Okay, Brianna and I don't own credit cards. You know, but you know, that's not like I'm not going to judge, I just don't. I just don't.
Unless you can pay it off at the end of the month.
No, right, see, and that's what I'm saying. I know that some
Mileage
people,
points.
right, some people do that and they're like, no, the points, the benefits, and you know, the emergency backup type thing. So I'm like, I'm not trying to attack anybody, the way they see credit cards, the credit card industry, nothing. But I guess the one thing I'll just be firm about is, please don't borrow money for a film, because we ran in the red for the first 2 years. But this was my everything, and Brianne worked an outside job for those first 2 years. And when I turned to Brianne on our anniversary and I said, you know that thing, that novel writing thing, and I designed the core game. So this is again, you know, they're like, how do they support 2 children, right? So I have my novels, right? But then also I work freelance. I write the core game mechanics for trading card games and board games and video games. So that's the math crunching, right? So obviously that's the geeky thing that, you know, used to pay all the bills. And on our anniversary, because I have excellent timing, I said to Brianne, you know those things I've been doing that pay all our bills, I feel lonely and I don't want to do them anymore. Because I thought that was a good time to tell her that. And I said, and you know what I think would be really fun is if I told stories, but with a lot of other people, like movies, which I know nothing about and don't own a cell phone or a camera and have never written a script in my life. But wouldn't that be fun to have like people over and then we like make a movie? I think that's how you just make a movie and just make it. You know, like I don't even have video editing software, let alone a cell phone. And she's like, okay, let's do it. So, yeah, luckiest woman in the world, I know. But my point here is that was a huge leap. And so, and she then had to go and get what I consider to be a miserable job, and I know she loved a lot of it. And she worked for a dog groomer, or worked as a dog groomer, so went to school, became a dog groomer, worked as a dog groomer, and cleaned all the doggies' butts all over Washington. And then one day she texted me and she said, if you had another adult full-time there at Blue Forge, would you be able to double the income that the company's making? Would you be able to grow? Don't tell me a story. And my heart is just like pounding a mile a minute. But of course, I'm like, yes! Yes! It will grow, it will double in size within 1 week, I'm sure of it! Okay, maybe 6 months, but still! And since then, now we've both been full-time here. But again, you know, I want you guys to be able to like keep your day jobs, do film on the side for those like 2 years until you're profitable, and then, you know, you can decide to do whatever you want. How many feature films have we done? A lot of folks don't even know that we've actually done feature films. We've done 14 feature films. So, and to me, endgame is not getting them into broad theatrical release, but rather the kind of like the artsy limited theatrical release, and commercial DVD is huge for me.
Right.
When I say commercial DVD, I do also automatically mean streaming, because nowadays commercial DVD, it's all packaged in with streaming. How many short films? So we consider, here at Blue Forge, we consider a short film anything between 10 minutes in length and 89 minutes. So a feet, right. You're just like, what? So that is really broad. So, and I am. So between 10 and 89 is a short film. Between 90 and Lord of the Rings is a feature film. And then an ultra short film is something under 10 minutes. So we have done 14 feature films. We have done 18 short films, all have been released on commercial DVD. And we have done 113 ultra short films. So when people say, when were you profitable? I'm like, after 14 feature films. So, you know, there was this, we had to create this like body of work. The ultra short films are all available for free on our YouTube channel. The short films, we make them periodically available for free, but mostly they're just on commercial DVD. And the feature films are only on commercial DVD, except we have one feature film on our channel that was an experimental feature film, and we have let that continue to be for free. How much debt do we have? We have no debt. I have a house full of props, but I have no debt. I strongly also recommend against getting a storage unit. It is amazing how quickly a storage unit will eat up your business profits. Yeah, which I was stunned. What are our hours like? Brianne and I have learned to do very well on 4 to 6 hours of sleep. So yes, the hours that we work are very long. And I do understand that, again, it would be much easier to be able to, like, for instance, if you just have a wealthy friend hanging around, you know, you could say to them, be a producer. And then you could say, you know, pay me $1,000 to edit, or, you know, that. Yes, that's a wonderful thing. But again, I wanted to make films more than I wanted someone to pay me for the privilege of making films. And I guess to me, that's really what it came down to, is I wanted to make films that people would want to see so much that they would pay to see them. I didn't want someone to pay me to support me living a creative lifestyle. That did not mesh well with me. I was kind of like, nope, that's not fair. So when I decided I wanted to try to make this change, what I knew it was going to be is, for a while I was going to be writing novels less, and I was going to be doing less freelance core mechanic design. So it is really long hours. Now, can you do it part-time? Of course. It just takes longer. That's all. I mean, you know, it takes longer for you to accrue a body of work and then a body of royalties. That's all. There's nothing wrong with it taking longer. What is micro-budget? Micro-budget is, you work with actors that, one, you know they're going to have the kind of costuming in their closets that you already need them to have. I hate, as Carrie will tell you, I hate having to ask my actors, can you buy X? Like, I need you in a white shirt, can you buy it? Because I don't want them to have to pay any more than I'm paying. But with independent film and with micro-budget film, your actors come with their own costuming. Where are you buying your props? Well, first of all, let me just say, once you buy them, you're keeping them. Because even little things, umbrellas to go in drinks, you know, the little classic little cocktail umbrella, okay? I've bought them once in 6 years. I've used them 9 times. Disposable coffee cups that look like they're from Starbucks. Those type?
Yeah.
Dollar store pack of 12. They've been used in 8 feature films. So that's what I mean by micro budget. I am on a first name basis with everyone who works at the Dollar Tree. It could seem funny, but it's amazing. We have taken a relatively empty Airbnb, filmed a scene there that was supposed to be a very, very wealthy woman's condo, decorated it with items from the dollar store, and people were like, wow, killer set. That must have cost $1 million. Yes.
How do you, when you need a particular set or a particular place, how do you go about getting people to allow you to use their...
Well, okay, so with micro budget, one of the other things that you are doing is, I always say there's guerrilla shoots and then there's legal guerrilla shoots.
Right.
Okay, so like, I'm allowed to go and shoot in any public area that I so desire.
Right.
But I, one, can't shoot the faces of other people. Two, I cannot impede pedestrian traffic or public use in any way. And that means you can't say, even in your nicest voice, "Sweetie, could you not skateboard here for just a minute? We just need to get this quick shot." No, that makes it illegal. And you absolutely cannot say, "Darling, could you move your kids off the swing set for just 10 minutes? It's gonna be real quick, we're making a movie." No, no, you cannot block a trail, a sidewalk, and anything. And it is on you to make sure it is not posted. You cannot videotape in this area. Also, if you're using a drone of any kind for aerial shots, it is on you. Just saying to the officer, "Sorry, we didn't see the sign," does not fly. You cannot do that. So we work with our ever-growing community to say, "Okay guys, I need a cafe." Carrie was like, "Oh, I have lunch at this one cafe, like pretty much every day. They're really nice. You know what? I'll even talk to them in person, and if they seem game, you can reach out to them, Jennifer." So it's all community stuff like that. As much as possible, what I then like to say is, I will show your signage. Not only will I thank you in credits, but I will show signage. I don't need to change the name of the cafe. Now, if it's a cafe where you're having people murdered, then you'll specifically say, "I will not show your signage." And in that case, again, legal guerrilla, you have to disclose that type of thing. Because they need to know what you're gonna actually film. So in terms of locations, I rely very strongly on our community and word of mouth. I try not to rent locations, and if we do rent a location, we do what we call timeshare. For instance, it's incredibly difficult to get a church, an actual church. Why? Because they're federal nonprofits. And the minute they rent their space to a commercial entity, they can screw with their status. We found a church that, because we're a federal nonprofit, they are very comfortable renting to us. Anytime we rent there, we split the cost between 4 or 5 different filmmakers. Everyone uses in for one day. Because modular method, you can absolutely shoot multiple projects there in one day. So we do a lot of location sharing as well. Okay, so that is all part of what being micro-budget is. So a historical timeline is 1973, I was born. So, and the reason I like to starting with that is we had a partner who I've known for several years recently say to me, "Well, when you're 30, you'll get it." That's not even a compliment, that's just stupid. So, so in 1973 I was born. In 1983 I started writing novels, and that means 50,000 words or more. In 1988 Brianne was born. I did not know her at that point, since I was 15. In 1989 I connected with my first publishing house, and the first novel of mine that was published was actually called Sarah's Dead. It was fiction. It was a drama, a serious drama. It followed a gay male couple in New York City during the AIDS epidemic, and it was about their good friend Sarah, who was a children's book illustrator who had recently tested HIV positive. So I was 16. Yeah, it's just a little light reading. And but my dream was to write science fiction. But I learned very early on at 16 that wasn't what the rest of the world wanted for me for a long time. So there was a lot of drama books that happened first, and then I made the mistake of sending work to the Pacific Northwest Writers Conference and won a bunch of their contests. And I sent, of course, what did I send? Nonfiction. So then everybody wanted to hire me to write articles and nonfiction. So I got hired by MTV and did a bunch of nonfiction pieces with them, and did a piece. They did a beautiful documentary. I believe it was called Speak Out, about survivors, young men and women who were survivors of rape, and I participated in that. And then I desperately still wanted to write science fiction. And then I just couldn't stop entering contests. And so then I entered the Bumper Shoot Poetry Contest, and I won that.
Wow.
And then everybody wanted me to do poetry. Everybody wanted me to do poetry. And then finally I said, I have written a 1,400-page science fiction epic story and given it to my girlfriend at the time as a happy 4th anniversary gift. Here, honey, be reading a Richard novel. And she said, a tome, I wrote you a tome. And she said, you gotta submit this. You gotta submit this to New York publishers. That was really wise advice. And so I did. And I think like any real author, it got rejected a bunch of times. But then it didn't bother me. I think, and maybe it was because I was like, all right, I win all these contests, look at this, I have this big ego, You know, like it really was. It was kind of like, they don't know what they're talking about, and I'd send it to someone else. It got picked up by a New York press, and they chopped it into 3 books, because this was before J.K. Rowling, who, you like the Harry Potters or not, it doesn't matter. She showed the industry that it's okay to have a tome. So, by 1992, they had me touring nationally. They sent me out twice. The book was a Seattle Times bestseller. It beat the 2 that had been holding the top spots were Jurassic Park, the book, and Maya Angelou's On the Pulse of the Morning when it had just been released.
Wow.
And so it was kind of this huge coup because it was like this genre work, and these were very, very established authors. I found touring very, very difficult, and also I was not the demure, is that the word? I was not the demure young lady I have grown to be.
Yes.
So I was not good on tour. So I toured, and then I woke up one day and went, this is not me, and this is not the life that I want, probably because I was growing up. And I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this. And this is only the first book, right? Because they've cut the big book into a trilogy. So I'm going to do this for like, conceivably the rest of my life. So I left, and I cashed out my contract. So that means I took some of the royalties they paid me and bought my book back. And then, armed with money and early 20s, I bought the house, and Maxwell was born in '99. And I learned what it was like to be a single mom, which was very humbling. And I definitely lost all of my wildness then. Then in 2002, Faith was born. And I hung in there on the precipice until 2008 when I met Brianne. And then life started. Then life was good then. Because then the children didn't outnumber me anymore. And I've learned that can be an error. In 2011, Faith, who is, she has type 1 diabetes. She was diagnosed before she was even 2. For anyone who doesn't know what type 1 is not type 2. It's not something where Faith can exercise more or change her diet and it goes away. So, so type 1 is the type, you guys, where, you're checking, you're pricking your finger and checking your glucose, which is in your blood, 6 to 8 times a day. You're injecting or infusing through a pump insulin every time you eat anything with carbohydrates, which of course, you guys, you have to eat carbohydrates to stay alive. No exercise fixes it. And the reason I bring this up is that it is actually vital. I have, as an author, signature things that I touch on again and again and again and again in my work. One of them is chronic medical conditions like that, children living with chronic medical conditions, what other people sometimes call a disability, and also growing up the way that I grew up, and in the community in Rat City, as folks used to call White Center, and High Point. I write about my life, and I revisit these things again and again and again, and you'll see. But I want you guys to write about your own stuff. I'm not looking for other filmmakers that want to write about, kids with type 1 and autism and things like this. So your voice is what's important to me. In 2011, Faith turned to me and she said, I like to watch ghost hunting shows with Brianne. And I said, yes, I know that. She goes, but there's never anyone like me on those ghost hunting shows. And I said, little girls? She goes, no, people with type 1 like me. And there's no people like Max on these shows. She's, how old was she, Brienne?
She's just turned 9.
Just turned 9. She goes, you write novels all the time. You should write a TV show, because it's the same. It's writing. And that was it. If it weren't for Faith, a couple days later, never would have turned to Brienne and said, I don't want to write novels anymore. I don't want to pay all our bills anymore. I want to do something that pays none of our bills for 2 years. I want to do film. And from that came Ghost Sniffers, Inc. It currently has 14 30-minute episodes. They're all up on the YouTube channel. We've taken a break because we actually wanted the children in the show to age. So the last time anyone saw Faith Ford, she was kind of drawn into this like magical other world, and she was about 11. And the next time they're going to see her is Faith now, where she looks like she's 18 to 21. In 2017, we opened our doors to partner studios, which is what I was just talking to you guys about. What does partner studio mean? Partner studio means that we get you your distribution and your marketing projects. You get to create your films the way you want to create them. Why did we open up for partner studios? Because we started signing deals with these large distributors. We started signing with these large platforms, and I literally could not write all the content. So it was, I turned down the deal, which is 12 slots or 8 slots, for 12 series or 8 series, or I open us up to other people. So it was completely selfish, because once I make a deal, I don't want to say no and walk away. Yes.
Now, there's got to be some quality control. Not every screenwriter should direct.
Yes.
You know, and some screenwriters are very good directors and
Yes.
know how to work with actors, know how to put it together. So if somebody comes to you with a screenplay and they say, I want to direct,
Yes.
but you get to talking to them and you see what they've done, you think, yeah, you're not ready to yet. Do you pair up a director with them, or do you teach them, or do you what?
That is a great, okay, so quality control. So first of all, let's start with what, excuse me, what is the quality control that everyone else demands? What they demand is that the scripts be in accurate modular method format. So first, let's just start with that foundation. Now, moving on from that, yes, I do try to get to know my partners a little bit better, and my favorite way to do it is, of course, I encourage folks to come and do our film anthology events with us, because then I get to see them live. So, because I can approve a script, and I can say, even if the formatting is a little off, maybe the story isn't quite there, I could be like, we kind of need to punch it up in this realm. What do you think? And I try, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I'm like, there's got to be something more here. But if they're following the key milestones that we'll talk about today, then it should all come together. However, if I see them at a film anthology event where their job is to have written the script and now direct, that's when I see if we're going to have a problem in the directing area. At that point, I do tend toward getting them to do more. Just keep doing it.